Hey YouTube, we're back at it with more Cousin Alby gaming, and we've already had two distinct builds or level brackets for Cousin Alby. I had a level 60 version, a level 80 version, and now we've boosted him all the way up to level 137. And I figured with those big gains, it would be funny if we wore the Fat Prelate's armor. So we're not just Cousin Alby, we're Fat Alby. Build is here on screen. I lifted the stats and basically the inventory layout from one YouTuber by the name of Steelovsky, just so I could figure out kind of how an Arcane build should need and ought to feel at 137. I'm going to change it later in a future video, but I just wanted to get an idea because I don't believe I've played a 137 meta level Arcane build, bleed build yet. So yeah, it's essentially a quality build, but it leans towards Dex if you're not counting its major stat being Arcane. And I want you to pay attention to this host we're helping as a blue. He is going to be a reoccurring character. He's one of those silly Taunter's Tongue solo invaders who's only solo for a little while. He's allowed to do that, of course, but I thought I would point him out so you could, you know, sear his name and visage into your mind, because he will make repeat occurrences. But I had a lot of fun on this build. Steelovsky sure does know how to throw a build together. When I do make my own changes, I think I'm going to lean towards more strength and less the dexterity angle of the build. I didn't use the dex weapons as much as I should have, really, and I really liked the Mogwin spears. But part of me has it in my mind that I want to run a colossal sword, right? Like the Zweihander, or maybe if I'm feeling really bulky, the Greatsword. And I want to run it with Braggart's Roar and, of course, a Bleed Infusion. So that way, you can get the heavy into light attack combo, and if it's doing bleed, I have a feeling that follow-up light attack is going to chunk. And that sounds like fun. I want to give that a go. So that's going to be next on the docket. I couldn't stop thinking about that silly concept of what if that 2-hit bleed combo just vaporizes people. Now you have to hit the heavy. That's the hard part, of course. But when you do hit the heavy on a Colossal Sword with Braggart's Roar or one of the War Cries, it feels good. And the damage is none too shabby on this build, too. I was getting constantly surprised because you do okay damage, and then you get a free bleed. It's almost like the critical hit of this game in the sense of it's like random chance almost, except for you earn it, you know? You build towards the meter and then you get the damage pop off if you hit them at the time that their bleed caps out on their meter. So yeah, it kind of feels like random critical hits, and given they can roll it, it does feel slightly more random. Is it? No, but it feels that way to me. Why? Because I'm bad. Because I'm learning. Because I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to improve. And I noticed as I was recording, the invasions ramp up in intensity as I went along. I had some more low-key invasions, which was great for easing me into the evening, and then as we got farther, they got more intense, a little more sweaty, and you will see that, I think, in some measure. I've tried to intersperse them enough to keep them entertaining, but I was waving up on the balcony there, or the rampart, to another fellow bleed build Albinauric head-wearing fellow. And here we are finding ourselves in a 2v2, and 2v2s in this area always bother me a lot. I don't like fighting in this particular place when it comes to a 2v2. I don't even like fighting here normally as a part of standard invasions. Something about the close quarters and the lack of PvE, it's just one big box for you to get ganked. And that's fine, they're allowed to gank, you know, people are allowed to do that. This wasn't necessarily a gank, it was a 2v2. But hey, met this fellow Albinauric head. He might have patterned his build off of Steelovsky, hard to say. Who knows? But that guy actually friended me after the fight, kind of silly, you know? Didn't have anything to say, just friended me, right? I accepted the invitation because I was like, well, that was a positive interaction, right? He's probably not going to send me hate mail, right? Who knows? Still hasn't said a word to me. The interactions of people on the internet never cease to amaze me, and that's normal. Here's that guy we helped briefly as a blue, right? He has returned, and he's got his Zweihander banished halberd, he's got his Zweihander banished halberd build going, you know, running lightning on his weapon. And, I don't know, I didn't know what to make of this character, you know? He needs help, apparently, for some reds. Against certain reds like me, he's willing to honor fight, but on later reds, he brings in as many he brings in phantoms and help and things like that. Largely confusing. But that's what you get. Oh, here is a funny little interaction. I felt like I had 2 of these in a row. I think I did, actually, where it was some lightweight host, you know, running whatever build, and then he's got his full bull goats friend, right? They seem to be overleveled. I guess they could. There's a chance they're not. You know, you could make that build work at 137 within reason. It'd be less than optimal. Overleveling is optimal. Haven't you gotten that in your thick skull yet? Overleveling is optimization. It is kind of funny interaction, you know, because I was watching some Saint Riot on Twitch the other day. I don't hardly watch Twitch. I don't really have the patience for streamers, and that has nothing to do with the streamers or their content themselves. I just like being engaged, you know, and when it comes to watching a stream, if there's more than like 100 people in the chat, you know, it's hard to engage, you know, unless they already recognize you and know your name. So it's not really for me, but I was watching a little bit, and he was talking about an archetype he sees, and I've started to see it too since he's pointed it out. I think he calls it Big Bubba and Little Timmy or something like that. And the archetype goes as such. Little Timmy is the host. He is basically getting carried through the entire game by Big Bubba, who usually is over-leveled and has great gear and is competent enough to play the PvE for his friend. Which, I've done that for people. I've been Big Bubba, so I identify with that a little bit. Though I'd like to think I'm a better Big Bubba than most. Though I like to be in the same bracket as my host if I can be, within reason. Usually within, like, 20% of their level is kind of what I go for. Below or above. But this was a longer invasion. It was hard to find an inn, because those spiral boys, they just follow ya. But I wanted an inn so terribly badly. Because I want to smack these fellas. I want to bop them on the head. I want to slap them with my pitchforks, you know? I was having lots of fun with silly Mogwin Sacred Spears. Fighting against Little Timmy and Big Bubba. Little Timmy was interesting in this situation if we continue to use the archetype. Because there's some parts where he just kind of disengages and looks off to the side. I don't know if he was tired of me dodging his projectiles or reassessing his plan, or if he just needed, like, to cool down after the vigorous PvP session of 10 seconds of interaction, you know? It just happens. Kind of odd. Kind of bizarre. Not sure exactly what to make of it. But this was a long-winded fight, and I just kind of wanted to show how important it is to have your dodges on point, to have some perseverance, that you can win these longer invasions. They're not the most exciting to watch, in my opinion. Some people get invested, right? And I've gotten invested in longer invasions too, so it's hard to see what people like. A lot of short invasions hold people's attention real well, of course, but they can kind of get predictable, I guess, if they're all short, all under a minute, and they're all really fast wins. There's something about these back and forths, though, that kind of create a story in one's mind, you know? Just a little story, a simple one, right? Nothing terribly advanced, not a novel by any means. But it's this interesting story where they're trying to get up to the Glintstone Dragon on the hill, and Cousin Alby, who is now morbidly obese, shows up, and he is here to fight them. And he's able to control the arena well enough that he can take care of Blue when he shows up. He eventually gets the better of the Phantom, and now the wizard is scared out of his mind. And I, for some reason, decide that the best chase tool I could use is the curved greatsword, which works, you know, so long as they don't outdistance you too much. The phantom range on the curved greatsword, as well as the phantom range on the great lances or great spears, is phenomenal, and maybe it does make it an okay chase tool. This was another Little Timmy and Big Bubba moment where the bull goat is just taking the golem arrows. I'm obviously shooting behind him, and I don't think he understands how shields work in this game. You have to be facing the thing you're blocking, turns out. They are not 100% block areas. But, Little Timmy he had a good kit this time. He had a really good kit for punishing somebody with my playstyle. I like spacing just enough for my healing, or what have you, to get things done. And this Little Timmy and this duo, he had that wind blade, and he was gonna swish and swash and, you know, create them big old mighty wind blades through the air, and they were catching me oftentimes because I'm trying to get the better on his big bubba, you know, the threat, the bull goat with the big colossal sword. I should have pulled out something for guard breaking, but I didn't really have a window of opportunity to capitalize on a guard break were I to get one. I think I do get one during the course of this invasion, actually. But the, yeah, there it is. Morgoth's curved sword doing work and funny latency issues. But yeah, they were working together a little better than the last little Timmy and Big Bubba. They had developed a little bit. I don't know why that concept cracks me up. It's a stolen joke, and I feel bad for referencing it. But too bad it's applicable. Here it is. Big bull goat boy trying to get the better of me, and they just have such interesting playstyles, I suppose. And that seems like a natural consequence of people who are, I guess, a little more casual, where they'll do things that don't make a lick of sense to you or I, those of us who are enthusiasts of the game, regardless of our skill level, right? Still, he's making use of that wind blade, making me regret every moment I'm pausing and not looking at him, because he loves that L2. Oh, that is a tasty L2. But you know what is also tasty? L1, with a light thrusting sword. Pinned him against the wall. A little graphic. Don't let your kids watch this. Oh my goodness. Alright, so remember that person we helped as a blue way earlier in the video that we dueled midway through the video? I should say midway. It was more like the mid-morning of this video. We find him again, right? But this is a specialty invasion, right? Because we have a guest star who will arrive. That's right, we have a featuring moment. And I'm being nice to this fellow. I thought we were going to have a duel like before, so I wanted him to kill the PvE, so he'd have a little fighting arena, and then I realized, oh, he's summoning on me. Oh, this guy isn't playing fair. Oh, I should have known. I helped him as a blue. I was the blue. I was the unfair element. Never, ever. Look at that 1300 damage if you land the whole blood tax. It's crazy. And granted, he's got light armor, so maybe he doesn't have great bleed resistance, but still, that's a good sum of damage if you can land the darn thing. I feel like if there's any amount of latency, you just get a bleed on a dodge, and it feels bad. But yeah, here he is, this guy. I don't know how to say that name. It's nonsensical vowels and consonants thrown together in a haphazard manner, right? But that host right there, I realized the content of his character, right? He'd pretend to duel you all honest-like, but I have a feeling he would heal if it came down to it. He'll 2v1 you if it comes down to it. He has no... I'm reminded of the spiel that General Shepard from Modern Warfare 2 gives you about Makarov, right? And he says, like, this man Makarov is fighting his own war, and he has no rules, no boundaries. He doesn't flinch at torture, human trafficking, or genocide. He's not loyal to a country or a flag or any set of ideals. He trades blood for money. He's your new best friend. That's what I'm reminded of when it comes to this host, right? And that's fine. That's fine. That's just the way I characterized him in my mind. I have no evidence for any of this, and that's just kind of how the game ends up. And I think it's better for that. I think it's fun and interesting that you map the way you perceive the world onto the game and your interactions. You don't know what people are thinking. You don't know what their intents are most of the time. There's no way to know. The game has no chat box. It has no microphone, and that's for the best. You can fight somebody and they'll defeat you and they'll give you a single crouch, and to them that could just be like a hey, hello. To other people that's teabagging, a vulgar gesture meant to make one feel upset, but I digress. Look at that. Do you see that red? That's none other than Steelovsky himself on his strength build. And because he's there to make content on his Twitch stream, he decided he would watch to see if I could take care of this host. And I've taken care of him before, so I thought it wouldn't be too bad of an issue, but as you may have noticed, every time I hit him with a blood tax, he rolls the majority of the hits, and the little hits that get in don't hold him in place, and it's just not doing enough damage. The latency was weird, and to be fair, every time I connected this guy, he had like 180, 190 ping. A real chore to fight against, even on a bleed build, which you'd think a bleed build would have some advantages, but my extra damage was being lost in the latency, you know? He's able to roll most of my bleeds, and I can hit him to high heaven. He's got twice as many flasks as I do. It's just a chore that kept on choring. And I don't know what was in my head. I wanted to make Steelovsky proud. I don't know why. I wasn't even watching his stream at the time. I didn't have time to switch over to watch his stream while I was recording this footage. But I was like, he sees me. I'm wearing the cosplay. I'm his little Albinauric. Me, I'm the guy. I'm Steelovsky's top guy. Am I really? No. I was like, Eleanor's pole blade's not going to work. There's too much ping. I'm like, it's sleep. I get him with the sleep. That's how this is going to happen. I accidentally lock on to Steelovsky. He actually gets on the roof there and pulls out a spyglass to watch the fight with his chat. I need to go back in the VOD and see what he was saying, what his chat was saying. I saw a little bit. I saw one guy comment that Steelovsky was the general and I was his noble soldier. And I don't know, it was a fun little interaction. Spotting a micro-celebrity, a niche internet micro-celebrity in the wild. And it was funny, because this is essentially his build with my fashion, essentially. And I want to fix that. I will in the future, don't worry. I'm not going to steal from him long-term. I'm just borrowing it to get a sense. He's never played an Arcane build at this level, but trying to get sleep off on this guy was a huge chore, right? But finally, I get him with the tip of it, jabbity jab, and it's all over. If you look up at Steelovsky, he's got a spyglass out. Isn't that neat? I do my gesture, and he Goomba stomps me. And, well, maybe I should put featuring Steelovsky in the video title. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that to him. But it was a neat little moment. I had a blast with that. It's kind of funny. I feel like I've been getting better at the game. That wasn't a particularly stellar performance, but hey, killing somebody with latency is always a challenge, right? Even for the best of the best, so I don't feel any particular sense of shame in that one. Goodness, that was a lot of talking. I'm feeling a little tired. I'm gonna take a little sip of my drink here. You better enjoy the footage that's on screen. I'm not gonna edit it out. Oh my goodness, that does sound like Saint Riot, doesn't it? I'm sorry. I just need to wet my whistle. But yeah, this was a fun little moment. He jumps, pelt him with a golem arrow midair. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage because, you know, Arcane build all in all, but the free damage and the knockback still makes the great bow worth using, in my opinion. And if you can get a rain of arrows off on somebody, it's usually worth the trade. I was trying to get sleep off on them. I was hoping they would be dumber. And then I realized, oh no, I'm getting another bloody finger. These people are taunt or tongue. This is intentional. They want a 2v2. They almost kill me right there, actually. And once I realized they wanted a 2v2, the first hint should have been being in Rhea Lucaria Academy at level 137. But they want me here. They're not trapped in here with me. I'm trapped in here with them. It's the inverse. And this guy hits suspiciously hard for a Dex Lightning build, right? On his katana there. It was doing some good chunks. I haven't seen anybody build around the thing at level 137 to my recollection. Maybe there's a Chase the Bro weapon showcase on it, but jeez, he was hitting me hard. And he should have gone in. He probably could have killed me right there. But I'm out of resources. Well, not out. I'm very low on resources. And I have to get in there and save my fellow red. And I cherish these 2v2s. They're a lot of fun. I don't know. They have a completely different dynamic from a standard invasion. Because you have a fellow, you can be more aggressive. The fights are always crazy engaging. And you can make some stupid moves and somebody might back you up. Or you can make some horribly stupid moves and your fellow red will just hit you for it. Whether intentional or not doesn't matter. You take the damage. And that's something the host player doesn't get. Heck, the host player also has double the flasks, so he still has home plate advantage. I stuck behind here because I thought they were going to chill on the slope a little more, that we had scared them. That was a horrible misread. I wasn't thinking very hard. I get too excited in a 2v2. My brain gets foggy and I'm just out for blood. And that's all I want. It's all I need. Cousin Alby's had a lot to eat, and he's still hungry. He's still wanting more. And look at that running attack. Jeez, almost 1200 damage. I get it, they're wearing a dress, right? Very lightweight armor. And it honestly didn't just feel like low absorption. It felt like they were Sword Seal gaming. Because, you know, you get flat damage defense. Do you see that? That poke? Oh, good job, fellow Red. It was an honor to serve with you. And of course we have some Blood Boon ritual gaming around the corner. There is a lot of utility to be had in an Arcane build. especially one that has access to Mogwin's Spear, Morgoth's Cursed Sword, the Bloody Helix. I didn't use it this video, but it was on the build, right? There's a lot you could use there. There's a lot more weapons I wanted to play with, but I didn't. I just have too much fun when I have the Mogwin Spears. They're a good combo. They're a great addition to any bleed build. Having two of them makes them that much better. And it's not even for the Ash of War. The Ash of War is situational, right? Just long, great spears is a great combination. And they're not as strong as they were. And I say that in the sense that patch 110 buffed a lot of weapons, right? And as a consequence of that, it's not that the great spears got weaker, it's that everything got stronger, and so they feel less strong, right? Because the divide between weapons is smaller. That's where you use a Blood Boon Ritual. You sleep a guy who's Endure gaming. That's how you deal with Endure. You hit him with a sleep pot. And then, you know, you have the time to hit him with a big thing, and the Endure's probably worn off, and I'm getting slapped by this Omen. And this guy, I like his build. I wonder what his build is. It seems like a Faith Light Rapier build. He's a page. He's one of the high pages from Lanedell, right? But he's using them incantations. I almost said miracles. And, I don't know, kind of neat. I want to use those old school Dark Souls style miracles. Wrath of Gold, I think it's called now. It was Wrath of the Gods. And then, is it Force is now Rejection, I think? Silly Light Rapier pokes. Goodness, they always stumble more than I think they will. Which is silly because, thanks to patch 110, they stumble considerably well. Where was I? Yeah, I want to use Rejection and Wrath of Gold. That's on my docket. That's a thing I need to do. Definitely. That sounds like fun. I like the idea of knocking people off of stuff and using simple miracles just to knock people over, you know? I don't know. Maybe it'll end up not being that good, but I have a lot of things on the docket now of builds to make. I need to do my Int Faith build, and I've started that one, right? I'm going to commence the big and awful journey to try to make a viable Faith Int build. Will I succeed? Probably not, honestly. Faith Int is just not one of those things you can do too easily. Look at this running attack. Oh goodness, poor guy. Gets hit with the double spears, and then I make that tasty swap. But yeah, Faith Int build. It's gonna be tough. It's either gotta be a caster, right? Almost predominantly. And I feel like if I go even on the points, I'm probably not gonna be that great, right? But you are incentivized to go even on the Int and the Faith. Why? Well, because the only weapon that scales okay with Faith Int is the Sword of Night and Flame, right? You could probably get like an Erd Steel Dagger or a Clayman's Spear, right? To scale with both, but it'll be slated heavily in one direction, right? So it's not really worth heavily investing in both. So the Sword of Night and Flame encourages you to invest in both Int and Faith. Which sucks. I wish there was an infusion for Int Faith like there was in Dark Souls 3, but I guess they want you to pick a lane. Which is silly, because they made quality builds not existent at metal levels and lower. You have to be an obscenely high level for quality builds to be good. Unless you're using somber weapons. There are some quality somber weapons that'll fit the docket, but that's neither here nor there. So the Int build, Int Faith build, I mean, I feel like I'm either going to have to make it a caster, in which case equal parts Faith Int isn't bad if I'm going the incantations route. If I'm going the sorcery route, it feels like a smidge of a waste, because the hybrid sorceries, even though they have faith requirements, you know, you're probably better off going mostly Int. So that way you get better access to a repertoire of spells. So it's like, is the Int Faith build going to be incantations based? Is it going to be sorceries based? Of the two hybrid schools of magic, am I going to just pick one? Am I going to even worry about the Sword of Night and Flame and just make it a pure caster build? I don't know. Am I just going to end up going with one of those spell combo builds? Maybe I should figure out what a spell combo build is. Those seem somewhat viable. I don't know. But I think I'm going to play it at a few different level brackets and see what I can figure out. After the Int Faith build, though, next on my docket is my lovely wife. She said, oh, you're done with your lore through, you need to do a new series. I'm like, I don't know what to do for a new series, right? I haven't thought about it. I could do Dark Souls 3. If I cared to do another lore through, I could just keep focusing on PvP content, since that does well and is fun. It's something I'm going to be doing anyway, so I might as well record it and get better and, you know, film and make logs of my improvements and observations. And she suggested that, since she's only played a bit of the game, I say a bit, I carried her through the game once. I'll admit, I was Big Bubba, she was Little Timmy. It happened. Why not? Married couple play games together. Thing to do, right? And so, she suggested that since she doesn't retain the knowledge very well, and she just kind of enjoyed the adventure and didn't really have much to do with the game after the initial playthrough, which is fine, she suggested that for my next series that she picks weapons just based off how they look from the wiki, and she will put a couple together in little bundles, and I have to make builds around them. And that's what she's decided. She's come up with 5 of these weapon bundles, so to speak. And it's kind of funny. She got the pictures together and she sent them to me. It almost made it look like those paid shops for pay-to-win games, kind of bundle weapons, whatever. And she wants me to make builds around them, and I'm kind of intimidated because it's just like whatever one she thought would look neat together, right? No mind for what scales with what, nothing to optimize, and I think I'm gonna torture myself with that. I don't think I'm gonna do 5 videos, to be honest, because she put together 5 builds for me. I might do 1 or 2 videos with those awful builds, and they're gonna be awful in a fun way, I hope. But I digress. I thank you for joining me this far. This is our final invasion here, and this was a true blue gang squad. They earned it. They had the big old pyromancer, they had the silly stretchy hammer, and they had the, I assume that's a bleed build, the host in the back, right? And the hammer boy even has them dragon incantations. Just a bad situation all around. I'm trying to conserve my resources, figure out a way out of this situation, and I've literally stuck myself in a corner. I didn't know how to get out. I didn't dare run out again. I don't have that many resources. I can't trade all of them all day. It has to be a quick win. I can't win through attrition, right? I don't have the resources. I'm probably not going to make that many hits. Oh, that bleed though. I wish I had more mana. I could have finished him off. That would have made things immensely easier. Able to keep scaring him off though. But I can't be in here forever, because there's big fireball off screen. You just have to escape. Oh, I'm so glad they didn't block the way. Had he been a little close to the corner, it would have been game over. But still, it's a close fight. And close as in I'm close to losing my life repeatedly. Not that I'm making any actual headway, but I remember something. I remember that these builds have Nakakibas on them. That's not a decision I would have made. That's a Steelovsky exclusive. And thanks to the spinning slash, we take the cake. We get our chicken dinner. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a good one. Stay tuned. Like and subscribe. Whatever. All those fun things. Goodbye.